Hello my friends, in today's video we will be comparing GoPro Hero 11 Black and DJI Osmo Action 3. DJI went back to the classic action camera design, whereas the GoPro is offering an evolution of the GP2 platform. I was a little bit afraid that if DJI goes back to the original Osmo Action concept, it will be a clone of the GoPro, but that is fortunately not the case. In this video we will compare the output and the feature set of the Action 3 and Hero 11 to find out which one is a better choice for you. In terms of the construction, both are conventional action cameras with the lens and smaller screen on the front side and a larger screen on the back side. Both are about 7 cm wide, but the GoPro is taller and therefore a little bit more bulky. The build quality is very similar. Both have rubberized edges and the whole front side. Both feel very solid and very durable. The Action 3 has better water resistance rating at 16 meters, GoPro is rated for 10 meters, but I wasn't able to try either underwater yet. The lens cover is removable on both, but the Action 3 uses a proper thread, which is in my opinion a better solution than the rotating mechanism on the Hero 11 Black. GoPro has an integrated foldable finger mount on the bottom side, the Action 3 uses magnetic quick release system. DJI requires an extra adapter, but the quick release system is much faster and more convenient to use. DJI also includes a protective housing in the box, which allows you to mount the camera vertically. The sensor and lens philosophy of GoPro and DJI is very different. Hero 11 uses a 27 megapixel sensor. Technically it is a 1/1.9 inch sensor, but it is basically a taller version of 1/2.3 inch sensor. Osmo Action 3 uses a larger 12 megapixel 1/1.7 inch 4x3 sensor. A significant difference between the Hero 11 and Action 3 is the field of view in default mode. Hero 11 uses about 16mm equivalent in the wide setting. Action 3 uses an extremely wide 13mm lens, but it crops to maybe 14.5mm in the wide mode. The standard or dewarp mode now actually crops to about 16mm as well, which is a change in comparison to the Action 2. You will get perfectly rectilinear footage in this mode, as I have explained in a dedicated Action 3 review. I use this setting most of the time. I would say that the field of view on DJI in the wide setting is more suitable for POV, actual sports and action use. Wide field of view setting on the GoPro is more suitable for point and shoot type of use, but neither is limited to one type of use of course. Both also offer wider options such as Super View, Hyper View and Ultra View. Those are explained in my dedicated reviews. GoPro ultimately captures more detail. There are probably two main reasons for that. The first one is that 5.3K instead of 4K actually makes a difference. The second reason is that the extreme angle of the Action 3 lens probably makes it more difficult to make at a certain level of optical qualities. You can see the difference for yourself, it is definitely noticeable, but I would still say that the image quality of the Osmo Action 3 is very solid. Hero 11 captures a great amount of detail, still the second best right after the One RS 1-inch mod, so no complaints there. A huge difference is the overall approach to the dynamic range and video processing. GoPro goes the HDR way. It uses local tone mapping and it indeed captures a lot of dynamic range. A huge strength of Hero 11 is how it can handle scenes with direct sunshine. An advantage of that is that you will always see the colors and the detail in both dark and bright parts of the frame. A disadvantage is that the shadows are too bright in some scenes, which looks unnatural. DJI did not go the HDR way, so the shadows are dark and the highlights are bright. An advantage of this approach is that the images look more natural, especially in scenes with overcast sky. A disadvantage is that the dynamic range is not sufficient in some scenes with direct sunshine. In certain scenes you may get parts of the frame that are simply white, which doesn't look particularly good. The colors are better on the Osmo Action 3. First of all, it gets the white balance right every time in any light conditions. GoPro still has some issues in scenes with overcast sky and in the low light. DJI colors are generally more accurate, whereas the GoPro colors are a bit on the Canon side. Having said that, GoPro will still get the majority of the scenes right. The GoPro can shoot 10-bit footage. If you use out-of-the-camera footage for SDR publishing, it makes no difference at all. Honestly, it doesn't really make much difference even if you color grade the footage, because the flat color setting isn't really flat enough. The cinema-like setting on the Action 3 makes more difference, and it definitely captures more dynamic range, which might be very useful in those challenging scenes that I've mentioned. It should also get the 10-bit capability by a firmware update. A new source of controversy in the action camera market is the close focus distance, so let's talk about that. DJI claims 30 cm minimum focus distance on the Action 3. In reality, 30 cm is not completely sharp, there is a bit of softness even at 40 cm. GoPro actually isn't that much better in this regard. The sharpness at 30 cm is better, but not 100%. 40 cm seems to be 95% sharp. Both are fine for vlogging unless you are holding the camera really close. It is actually the same deal with the Action 2 and Hero 10 as I've shown in my videos a year ago, so I assume that people are fine with that, but now it is a big topic for some reason. Well, that is what happens when you combine a larger sensor, or wider aperture in the case of the GoPro, with fixed focus. It is basically a compromise between the low light and close focus. Speaking of the low light, that is better with DJI. GoPro is actually not that bad in night situations, but it is not handling dusk situations very well. It is often trying to extremely brighten the scene, and it usually can't get the white balance right. Low light performance is still a weakness of the Hero 11. DJI is managing both the exposure and the white balance very well, and the amount of noise is pretty low by action camera standards, so I am happy with the low light performance of the Action 3. The main improvement of the Hero 11 over Hero 10 is a taller 8x7 sensor. DJI can actually shoot 4x3 or 8x6 4K video, so it also has similar capabilities. As I've explained in my Hero 11 review, it is useful for reframing or for shooting for multiple platforms. Hero 11 gives you a little bit more flexibility, but 4x3 on DJI is also very useful. Regarding the stills, GoPro again shoots more detailed stills thanks to that 27 megapixel sensor. 12 megapixel stills from the Action 3 are actually very nice. There is plenty of detail in those, so they are more than usable for common types of publishing. Both can shoot RAW with similar dynamic range and options for post-production. The stabilization is very similar, and it is basically what you would expect from a high-end action camera in 2022. Both are more than sufficient for panning, walking, driving, cycling, and so on. To be honest, the previous generations of both stabilizations in Hero 10 and Action 2 is very similar as well. The GoPro has two advantages though. The first advantage is the auto boost function that can adjust the crop and the efficiency if you start running or something similar. It is pretty subtle, but it works. The second difference is the 360 horizon leveling on the GoPro. That means that you can rotate the camera and the horizon will stay leveled. Action 3 can do the same thing up to 45 degrees. To be honest, that is more than enough for most real-world applications. This mode introduces significant crop on both cameras though. The displays on both are really good. Both are 2.25 inch and the quality of the panel is about the same. The brightness is also sufficient on both, but the DJI screen is brighter. The main difference is the aspect ratio. DJI screen is 16:9, the GoPro screen is 4:3. If you mostly shoot 16:9 video, DJI screen will serve you better because it won't waste the space with the black bars. If you shoot 4:3 or 8:7 a lot, GoPro screen will be more suitable. Both cameras also have a 1.4 inch front screen with a very similar panel and image quality. It is possible to use both screens at the same time on both cameras. An advantage of the Action 3 front screen is that it is touch sensitive and you can use it to control almost everything, which brings us to the user interface. Both use swipe gestures and the main menu, but there are some differences. GoPro uses the presets. I didn't like those too much in the past, but additional options such as 8:7 filming made me appreciate them. DJI has a dedicated image quality menu which is very easy to use as well. Overall, I prefer DJI user interface because everything is easy to access and the items in the main menu are a lot larger. Some rather important settings on the GoPro, such as the display brightness, are buried relatively deep in the menu, but it is also a very good user interface overall. The front screen user interface on the Action 3 was basically taken from the Action 2, so it also allows you to change most of the settings. That might be very convenient in situations where the main screen is not easily accessible. The battery capacity of both is similar. GoPro uses 1720 mAh, DJI 1770 mAh. The battery life is better on DJI. In side-by-side test, shooting the highest quality 25p video on both cameras, that means 5.3K on GoPro and 4K on DJI, I got 90 minutes with GoPro and 125 minutes with DJI. Shooting 4K on GoPro actually doesn't make any difference in terms of the battery life. Action 3 is also more overheating resistant. I haven't measured the temperatures, but it is noticeably colder after about 30 minutes of shooting. Despite that, I was able to get about 45-minute long clip with the GoPro and it wasn't dramatically hot. Regarding the smartphone app, DJI is the winner in my opinion. I prefer having full screen preview available all the time and the overall structure of the DJI Mimo app. GoPro app has that separate settings menu with no preview, which I don't like that much. A disadvantage of the GoPro is that as soon as you press the recording button, the preview in the app will go black. With DJI, you can record and see the video on the smartphone screen. The accessories are a big part of both systems, so let's take a look at that. First of all, Action 3 comes with a protective housing, which can also be used for vertical mounting. GoPro doesn't include anything like that. As I mentioned, the quick release adapter is in my opinion very convenient and it lets you use all mounts designed for the GoPro. All of the usual accessories such as filters or underwater housings are available for both. I have already made a video about the best accessories for GoPro and I will probably make a video about accessories for Action 3 as well. Also worth mentioning is the price difference. I won't say the current price because that changes all the time, but at the time of making of this video, the DJI is about 27% cheaper than the GoPro, which is a significant difference in favor of the Action 3. To sum up, I was a bit afraid that if DJI goes back to making conventional action cameras, the product will be too similar to the GoPro, but it is not. The approach is very different. First of all, the type of footage that they produce is very different due to the field of view. The approach to the dynamic range and video processing is also very different as I've explained. GoPro captures significantly more detail and much more dynamic range. Osmo Action 3 has much better colors in extreme situations and better low-light performance. The build quality, the screens, the user interface and the stabilization is great with both. The GoPro is in my opinion more suitable for point-and-shoot type of use, vlogging and that kind of stuff. It will ultimately provide better output in those situations. I like to use the Action 3 for mounted use. The field of view is very suitable for that, the mounting system is very convenient, the battery life is great and it is possible to monitor the recording through the app. Overall, I would say that the GoPro Hero 11 is a better all-round camera due to that detail and dynamic range. DJI Osmo Action 3 is perhaps a more niche product, but there definitely are situations and categories where it outperforms the GoPro, so the choice really comes down to the personal preference in this case. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.